Hello folks, this is Scott with Dallas Paint Correction and Auto Detailing here in Dallas, Texas, and I want to talk about something, engine bay detailing. I have a lot of people every time I make an engine bay detail video that get very paranoid, very flipped out. In fact, they're very rude and they can be awfully mean and aggressive and say that I'm ruining a customer's engine, I'm the biggest moron on the planet, I'm the biggest hack, don't watch this guy. Well, you know what, it can be difficult on YouTube to have to deal with some people who just don't understand that free-flowing water is okay to be used on an engine. But I'm going to take a deep breath here and I'm going to say that even though some of you may lack the knowledge and the experience of using free-flowing water, I'm also going to honor your perspective. I'm going to tell you that if you are concerned about using free-flowing water from a garden hose because you think it introduces too much water into the engine bay, I'll honor that perspective. If you think a power washer is too aggressive, I honor that perspective. I won't argue with you. I won't tell you you're crazy. I won't be obnoxious and rude like you are to me. I will love you. I will honor you. And I will tell you something that I'm doing. I've already started on this and I said, you know what, it's a good opportunity to start a video about a machine I'm using. Yes, I'm going to introduce some water, but it's not going to be as aggressive as a free-flowing garden hose or a water hose, and it's not going to be nearly aggressive as a power washer. The safest way to clean an engine bay, folks, is probably using some type of degreaser and using a rag and then mechanically just kind of trying to clean this up without using any water alone. If that's the way you want to clean an engine, that's fine. I honor that as well. When you have a pretty dirty engine, that's probably going to take a very long time to do it. But if you're that scared of free-flowing water, then that's probably your best option. But I want to show you a system that will introduce water, but it's so minimal. I probably won't even use probably less than half a gallon of water. Now think about that. Think about if this engine bay was open and one of your friends walked up with a half a gallon of water and just spilled it all over your engine. Would you panic? Would you flip out? Would you call the dealer? Would you call the tow truck company? Would you put your car on Craigslist or put it in the paper and you just said, you know what, it's completely ruined, I got to sell it. It got a half a gallon of water on the engine. It's time to sell this thing and I got to pass it on to somebody else, because I'm no fool. If I get water on the engine, I've lost it all. I've ruined the engine completely. I think most of us would probably agree. That's a silly analogy and none of us would probably do that. But I'm going to show you something. I'm going to go in here lightly just to kind of give the effect of what I'm doing on this engine bay, right? I'm going to take my Super Clean, which my little spray bottle is being a pain in the butt, and I'm going to spray it over these areas that I want to clean. And I want to get all over the plastics, right? And then I'm going to take my brush and put some extra cleaner on this brush. And then I'm going to lightly go over the engine bay. You don't want to be herky-jerky. You want to have a high level of awareness. You don't want to be grabbing on hoses and lines and breaking anything. Just be very careful. Have a high level of awareness. Be disciplined. Be careful where you're poking your brushes. Lightly agitate. Break down that grease and grime. You know, work carefully around some of these components. Again, the air filter is completely covered. I'm not worried about water getting on it. The fuse box has got a rubber seal. It's not waterproof, but it's water, what we call splash proof rated. It can get a little bit of water on it. Kind of like that analogy with the half gallon of water. Fuse box is going to be fine. So I'm going to go in here and lightly agitate. Again, I'm just trying to do this for the effect of the video. And then I'm going to show you a really cool tool that I use, and I have begun to use quite a bit for engine bay details, because it just makes the job a little bit easier and I don't have to get too much water on the ground, although I am not concerned about using water in the engine bay. But for some of you, I want to show you this thing. This is an Airless paint sprayer nozzle. It's attached to a little machine. I'll show you what it looks like here in a minute. When I use this thing, yes, I'm going to introduce water, very little water. It's going to look like a lot of water, by the way, but it's extremely atomized. It's got air mixed in with it. Watch what it does. want to bring you in and show you this engine bay. What I have used right now, folks, was just a light misting. There is some water. The engine's got some moisture on it. It looks like when I'm using that gun, holy crap, he's introducing a lot of water, but it's not. It's very little. There's not pulled up water all over the place. I can literally take a leaf blower right now and dry this engine within 20 to 30 seconds. That's how much water is in this engine compartment. It's not a lot. Yet that little machine, I'll show it to you in a minute, can be very effective to give you just enough water, just enough pressure, just enough atomized pressure with the water to just rinse off the engine safely for those who are concerned about using too much water in the engine bay. Before I made this video, I already rinsed the engine off, but I want to show you something to kind of drive the point home. Look on the ground. You see how much water I've got in the front of this engine? Again, I've already rinsed the engine before I started the video, but I've got very little water on the ground. If we come to the side of the engine, there's nothing here. This kind of gives you a perspective of how much water actually is used inside this engine bay. If I use the free-flowing water like a garden hose or a power washer, guess what? Yes, I'll have water flowing down the street, and you'll see that. But here we go. This is very easy to kind of just use very little water to knock off the degreaser that you used, and also break down the grease that you broke down with your degreaser and agitating with a brush. What is this thing? It's called the Kraus & Becker Airless Paint Sprayer from Harbor Freight. $169. It's got a pipe that goes into this 5-gallon bucket. It's completely electric, doesn't need any air, and then of course it's pumped through this water. I did not fill that bucket up all the way. In fact, I'm willing to say I've rinsed this engine off twice, and I probably haven't even used half a gallon. So it's like I used a quarter of a gallon each time I rinsed this engine off. And it's just so insignificant, the amount of water I've used, and it's really cool that it has the ability to atomize and give me enough pressure without introducing too much water at the same time for those who are scared to use a garden hose or a power washer. I just wanted to share that with you, how easy, how cool this little machine is for $169. You can do engine bay detailing. Also around the hood blanket, a lot of us get concerned with putting too much water around the hood blanket, right? So now you can clean off this area with your degreaser and your little brush, and you have a much more controlled area. Watch this. I can kind of get on those painted surfaces, yet I didn't flood the hood blanket. If you're concerned about introducing too much water around that hood blanket, because if I use the hose, guess what? A lot of that water is going to run into the hood blanket, but this is much more controlled. A really nice way to do an engine bay, especially on an older engine that may have a compromised hood blanket, and you worry about it falling down. Very little water used at all, a quarter of a gallon in that simple demonstration of rinsing it off. Folks, this may be one of the safest ways, yes, to introduce water into an engine bay, but it will not damage the engine in any way if you are one that has that perspective. I appreciate you all. I love you. Just wanted to show you that cool little thing, right? $169. Use it for rinseless washing. Use it for engine bay detailing. Guess what? I also been testing it inside the interior of cars. You're probably going, Scott, are you crazy? Wait till you see what I use this on for the interior. It will probably blow your mind. Great little tool for $169. Very little water, highly effective. And I'm just going to blow dry this thing, take 20 or 30 seconds to dry it. It'll be perfectly fine. I love you all. Talk to you soon. Hopefully that helps you out. All you guys that still feel water is too dangerous, go ahead. Leave the comments down below. Beat me up. Tell me I'm the worst guy on the planet, even though I do this 4 or 5 times a week for many of my clients, repeat clients, been doing it for 26 years. We're not going to ruin the engine, and now I've taken that risk considerably lower, and I think it's a beautiful way to do it. Little compact machine, 24 pounds, easy to transport, easy to store, easy to work around these areas here where you don't want to get the hood blanket wet. Isn't that pretty cool? That's a cool little tool to have that can help you out, not have runoff all over the place, running down the street, much more contained, very clean. I love it. Thank you, Kraus & Becker from Harbor Freight. You made this process cleaner, easier to do, and help those who may be scared. Appreciate it so much. Love you all.